Today is the day after Charlie Kirk was taken out. The Salt Lake City FBI unit is looking for this white guy right here. They are looking for a white guy who took out Charlie Kirk, allegedly. It says, we are asking for the public's help identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, a white guy. So the person who allegedly or who they are searching for in connection with the death of Charlie Kirk is a white man. That's who they're looking for. So why are black colleges, HBCUs, getting threats? This, you know what, today is 9/11. It's the anniversary of September 11th, and we all know what happened. And we do know that it was majority Saudis, people from Saudi Arabia, that flew the planes into the buildings in Saudi Arabia. So this kind of matches because GWB went to war with Iraq, talking about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We got to go to war with Iraq, even though the majority of the people that were flying the planes into the buildings were Saudi nationals. So that makes sense. It's September 11th. Let's threaten black people, even though a white guy is who they are looking for. They are not looking for a black person. Why are black people being threatened at all in this situation? The propaganda machine on the right is in full effect. They're pretty much calling for civil war. We don't know what happened. The person hasn't been caught. There hasn't been any motive that we know of, but they have decided that this is Democrats. I don't know who put together this compilation, but let's make it a little bit bigger and see what all of these say. Libs of TikTok, this is war. Joni Manarino, the Democrat Party must be classified as a domestic terror organization and their members, leaders treated accordingly. Enough is enough. Brian Eastwood, Charlie Kirk getting shot is the shot heard around the world. I'm ready for civil war. You want to fight? You're going to get it. Ron Filipkowski posts this. Trump issues statement after Kirk's death, blaming the rhetoric of the radical left, talking about Charlie Kirk was a great man and all of this. He's going to lower the flags to half-mast or whatnot. He said that all about Charlie Kirk. Back in June, Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated. Donald Trump and other MAGA influencers did not take to their spaces to talk about their deaths. They basically blamed it on Democrats as well. They are always blaming everything on Democrats, even though the person that took this woman and her husband out and had the list of all Democrats was a MAGA person. At what point are they ever going to address the violence that comes from their side? They always want to ladle everything on the side of the Democrats, but the crazy thing is they're the ones that are calling for all of this violence. Gunther Eagleman says they've declared war. Who is they? Aesthetica says there's no going back after this. There's no more words to be said. The only way this ends is the complete annihilation of the Democrat Party. These people are vile and violent, and their rhetoric is out there. And so many people are sitting up here like hand-wringing and clutching their pearls that Democrats and liberals are not like more empathetic about Charlie Kirk's death. But his rhetoric is what got him taken out. And these people are pushing that exact same vile rhetoric. This person, Matt at the bottom, says Charlie Kirk being assassinated is the American Reichstag fire. It's time for the complete crackdown on the left. Every Democrat politician must be arrested and the party banned under RICO. Every libtard commentator must be shut down. Stochastic terrorism. They caused this. I'm beginning to wonder if this dude was a sacrifice so that they can start a civil war and so that the Epstein files stop getting talked about, because Libs of TikTok was one of those people with the binder. So was Gunther. Now we're not talking about the Epstein files. Donald Trump has not had to really address that. The economy is going to hell, and now all of a sudden they want to arrest all Democrats and Democrat leaders and everything, and they want to have a civil war. I'm really wondering if this whole Charlie Kirk situation, like the right always says, everything is a false flag. Sandy Hook, according to Alex Jones, was a false flag and everything. Is this really some kind of conspiracy to take our minds off of the Epstein file, let Donald Trump get away scot-free of that, and focus on something else? Oilfield Rando says, I don't want the National Guard sent to Democrat cities anymore. I want the Air Force sent. Sean Davis says, when Democrats lose elections, they couldn't steal. They murdered the people they were unable to defeat. Nobody needed to defeat Charlie Kirk. He wasn't a politician. Patrick says it's time to bring the hammer down on the left. And then Fox Entertainment news host Jesse Waters says, they are at war with us, whether we want to accept it or not. They are at war with us. What are we going to do about it? Fox Entertainment News had nothing to say. They were not speaking this kind of language when Melissa Hortman was taken out. And even when Jesse Waters was spewing all of this, he wasn't talking about anybody that had been harmed on the left. It's just they act like only people taking casualties or hits are people on the right. Elon Musk got involved, so he reshared this tweet from Sean McGuire saying, the left lectured us for the last decade about the dangers of violence from the right, from the assassination attempts of President Trump. And then Elon Musk says, the left is the party of schmurder. Sean Davis says, the Democrat Party is a domestic terrorist organization whose most fanatics will not hesitate to schmurder their political opponents. This was not a one-off event. Christopher Rufo, this is the person that started all of the brouhaha about CRT, critical race theory, says the last time the radical left orchestrated a wave of violence and terror, J. Edgar Hoover shut it all down within a few years. It is time, within the confines of law, to infiltrate, disrupt, arrest, and incarcerate all of those who are responsible for this chaos. They are calling for people to be jailed. There has been nobody caught. Who are they trying to jail? They are using this as a reason to go and round up people and harm people. This is fascism. And they are using, especially Elon Musk, Jesse Waters, they're using their propaganda machines to push all of this rhetoric, acting like the Democrats are responsible for all of this. Laura Loomer says, it's time for the Trump administration to shut down, defund, and prosecute every single leftist organization. If Charlie Kirk dies from his injuries, his life cannot be in vain. We must shut these lunatic leftists down once and for all. The left is a national security threat. Elon Musk said yesterday, if they won't leave us in peace, then our choice is fight or die. Elon Musk, he don't even go here. He can go back to South Africa. Like, why are so many of these people just stoking the flames of civil war? This is not... People were sitting up here yesterday, just so upset that people like me were not really sad. And I never call for any kind of civil war. I don't call for violence, but these people do. And how do you unite? How do you come to some kind of consensus with these types of people that are talking about rounding folks up and going to war? I go over to Twitter. I open it up. This is on the first page. First of all, Lucifer says, Charlie Kirk has arrived in hell. That was honestly the very first thing that I see. So Satan has acknowledged that Charlie Kirk has arrived. Then Barack Obama's tweet was second. We don't know yet what motivated the person who shot and unalived Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife Erica and their 2 young children. Most of the Democrats that I saw on social media were trying to tamp down the rhetoric. All of the MAGA influencers were trying to fan the flames. This is the reason why I think that this is a coordinated effort. They are using this to restrict our rights, just like they did with the Patriot Act in 9/11 and GWB. Representative Clay Higgins, this was literally the 3rd tweet I saw when I opened up Twitter. I'm going to use congressional authority and every influence with big tech platforms to mandate immediate ban for life of every post or commenter that belittled the assassination of Charlie Kirk. If they ran their mouth with their smart-ass hatred celebrating the heinous murder of that beautiful young man who dedicated his whole life to delivering respectful, conservative truth into the hearts of liberal enclave universities, armed with only a Bible and a microphone and a constitution, Those profiles must come down. So I'm going to lean forward in this fight, demanding that big tech have zero tolerance for violent political hate content and the user to be banned from all platforms forever. I'm also going after their business licenses and permitting, and their businesses will be blacklisted aggressively, should be kicked from every school, and their driver's license should be revoked. I'm basically going to cancel with extreme prejudice these evil, sick animals who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. I'm starting this today. That is all. Okay, so he is starting this today over the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I am wondering if he did the same thing with Melissa Hortman and how people acted towards, the beating of Nancy Pelosi's husband. There were so many jokes regarding the beating of Nancy Pelosi's husband. Even Charlie Kirk said this. It says, Charlie Kirk tells audience to post bail for Paul Pelosi attacker as GOP conspiracies swirl. These people are always pushing violence. They push violence all the time. And there's all kind of record of the violence they push. So that's what Charlie Kirk said about the beating of Paul Pelosi. He did it on video. Charlie Kirk has called for a midterm hero to post bail for the suspect charged with the brutal hammer attack that left House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, with a fractured skull. If some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out, a smirking Mr. Kirk said on his podcast on Monday. Back in 2023, Charlie Kirk said this about a mass shooting. He says, "We cannot allow them to emotionally hijack the narrative." This was after a mass shooting. Conservative podcaster Charlie Kirk doubled down on his belief that gun deaths are worth it because of the liberty firearms provide. After a mass shooting at a bank in Louisville, Kentucky on Monday, Kirk reacted by defending recent remarks that were highlighted by Media Matters. "I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights," the report quoted him as saying. He was perfectly fine with some gun deaths every single year. He died for what he believed in. Yesterday, Donald Trump recorded this video message, and people are wondering if this is AI or not. I am just so concerned about the makeup, and he looks a terrible hot mess, but his makeup is such a different color than these hands. If AI did this, they could have at least matched the makeup better than he does. But he's saying to my great fellow Americans, and he is talking about Charlie Kirk and how he's such a great person and blah, blah, blah. Charlie Kirk was not a great person. He was inflammatory. He was racist. He was sexist. He was a proponent for these gun deaths that eventually took him out. He was not a good person at all. But Donald Trump, he was going on and on and on about Charlie Kirk. So like this article headline says, Trump condemns political violence, but doesn't mention attacks on Democrats. Remember, State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were assassinated in June in their home. He doesn't mention that at all. This person, Pastor Ben, put out this post yesterday saying, "If you're praying for Charlie Kirk, I'm praying with you." These are his words, not mine. He says, if you're using this to create a narrative of political violence from the left, I'm going to remind you that a MAGA man and Trump supporter just assassinated Democratic official Melissa Hortman and her husband less than 3 months ago. So much has happened this year that there's been so many deaths this year alone that I know that it's like some things just get forgotten about. But she was a Democrat. Her husband, they were both taken out, and nobody on the right were talking about this. This is a woman, Candace Bimbo. I follow her on different platforms. She says, "Seeing Black men mourn the loss of someone who was literally in the middle of saying they are the most violent group of people when he was shot has been hard. Seeing Black women mourn the loss of someone who called Representative Sheila Jackson Lee dumb and said Black women like her, Joy Ann Reid, Michelle Obama, and Ketanji Brown Jackson lack brain processing power and stole positions from qualified white people has been hard. May God be with us as we block and unfriend." This dude was a racist. He's on camera talking about how these Black women that she just mentioned, Joy Ann Reid, Michelle Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson, how they were not qualified for the positions that they had. And then like folks all around us are sitting up here wondering why there's a contingency of us that don't give a damn that he's gone. It's not like we're sitting up here celebrating. I'm not throwing a party or anything, but he lived how he wanted to live. He spewed the rhetoric that he wanted to spew. And death doesn't erase that he was a sexist and a racist. There's so much discourse going on around social media, so many people that are talking about it, but the person hasn't been caught. So I don't know why they are declaring war. But this is basically what George W. Bush did when he declared war on Iraq before even finding weapons of mass destruction. They just go out and want to fight somebody. Anyways, go ahead and chime in. I'm gonna end with some clips of some things that Charlie Kirk has said in the past, because we all need to remember some of the things that he said and the rhetoric that he spewed. And he got it how he lived, get it how he left. Well, now he's gone. He get it how he left. All right, y'all. Let me know what you think.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that. We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive. They think we're like, oh, of course, that's why we need affirmative action, because you have impressed us with your brilliance. Of course. I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
New age term that does a lot of damage, but I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made up new age term that does a lot of damage, but I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made up new age term that does a lot of damage, but I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made up new age term that does a lot of damage, but